You at today's webinar. I'm Suzanne Carowin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Web to Market, and we're going to look today at everybody thinks they know LinkedIn, and we all use it. Most of us do, but most of us are probably, we could agree, we're not really optimizing it. And so what I want to do today is kind of give a couple of brief ideas and show some examples, because I think that's the absolute best way to do it, and talk about why business owners really need to have a great LinkedIn profile. And maybe you haven't thought of it from this perspective, and I'd love some feedback on it. But at Web to Market, we're all about helping you to market yourself on the web. So that means all the digital communication channels out there. And again, most of us as small business owners, if we can, save a buck, and if we can have a way that we can do that for free, then my gosh, we should take advantage of it, right? And so one of the reasons people love LinkedIn, and by the way, I'm not going to show you anything here today. That's the premium piece of it, though that's wonderful. But we want to talk about really what you can do, just the basics of LinkedIn that maybe you haven't thought about. So let's get going on it, right? So 4 stats really to know about LinkedIn. If you're like, yeah, I've got a profile, but I'm not looking for a job. I'm too busy running my own business. My customers aren't looking there, etc. I don't have a reason to really invest in LinkedIn. Well, 4 stats you really should know. Number 1, 930 million global users. Okay, so think bigger than just your point A to point B about your own customers or clients. Think about the sum total of your business. So this might be a proving ground for where you're going to want to put out information about your products, your services. Potential employees might be there, maybe future interns. You might want to sell off your business at some point. So maybe your succession plan includes the buyer that you don't yet know, but's out there, who might want to be with you and get to know you and see if you're credible. Also, influencers. We're going to talk about a lot about that on this particular webinar, about how important influencers are. And I think especially important for the small business, because you can stay so true to brand and you can stay so authentic with really having an influencer. Now, I don't mean like the one that you buy and they're just doing product placement on Instagram and having nothing to do with your own brand. I'm talking about a real user and believer in your product or service. So 930 million. Now, if you're an e-commerce shop owner out there and you're not really doing a lot on LinkedIn, 930 million plus global users. And if you ship at least to like maybe within one country, let alone multiple, might be something you want to think about. Maybe you're not doing yourself justice with where your shop could actually reach, but maybe LinkedIn can be another supplemental channel there that you might want to investigate. And what I find with a lot of our e-commerce clients that we work with is they actually have had a very narrow view of what they've been doing from their marketing, and they haven't really been utilizing all the tremendous number of channels that are out there. So we'll touch on that a little bit too, as well as we kind of go through this. Number 2, 65 million decision makers, 10 million C-suite executives. So maybe those aren't your target market for who would actually buy your product or service. Maybe they are. But maybe those people probably have networks of people. And really what we're talking about nowadays, as we all know, nothing's changed with humans. The most powerful way to get someone to really try your product without even going through all this consideration and research is to have someone that they know, like, or trust recommend it to them and say, you know what you need? You need this product. So that word of mouth, that social proof, if you will, has not changed in human interaction. It's just gone to digital. And so really it's about how can you take digital, and which has a much bigger reach than being in person with word of mouth. How can we take that and extend it so your testimonials, your recommendations, et cetera, can really get bigger and we can amplify the sound of that? So how can we look for those perhaps decision makers or C-suite executives? If we could align them with our brand that we're trying to put out there, could we sell more product? Right? That's really what we're saying here. Is there a way we can situate ourselves to say, hey, we are kind of associated with this group of people who they themselves have huge distribution networks, and maybe that's a reason we should take the time to really get buttoned up on LinkedIn. Third one, bankers and private equity. Maybe you need a loan. Maybe you're looking at the U.S. Small Business Association Administration. You might, they have 243,000 followers. Aside from getting some good information from you, they have all sorts of people that are in there looking for other people looking for other businesses that maybe they can financially support, invest in, right? Provide loans to, provide assistance to. And the same is true of the private equity market. One of the big private equity groups on LinkedIn has over 75,000 private equity people in there. And that might be your next cash infusion. But if they're looking at you on LinkedIn and you just don't have a profile that's going to cut it, or you don't have your business kind of set up, et cetera, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, right? So why don't we kind of take every possibility that we can to make sure that we're set up correctly and we're leaving no stone unturned, right? Because my goodness, if we might trip across a client or customer, maybe people don't know, people come to LinkedIn in different ways. They might have no idea that's even what you do, or maybe something, maybe it's from an association you're part of or some sort of organization. You never know how those connections can fit together, but why don't we not do ourselves a disservice and cut off that possibility when we might be able to open up that channel. Last one, 35 to 50% increased response rate with recommendations. So again, it's taking word of mouth as if we were in person, translating it into the digital sphere, and then being able to use those recommendations, collect them, be able to harvest them, get them out to people, proactively ask people to recommend or provide testimonials for your company, and then see how we can dramatically convert that. Because as we said, we know word of mouth can make a very quick shopping decision for many without having to do the research. Like if I'm in the market for a new lawnmower or air conditioner, and I really trust my neighbor, and I know they always make great decisions, and they tell me, hey, you should get this kind, I'm like, okay, work for Christopher. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. So we can really narrow that time frame about what people are doing, especially those people that don't know us at all, by again going through someone that they do know to get that recommendation. So this is kind of I say that, and then we've got the backdrop of what's really happening in marketing. And we have so much happening in marketing because AI. And I know everybody says you can just, forget the day job now and go create your own AI agency or app, etc. The truth is there's a lot of that still needs to happen in marketing. And yes, I think that will blow over in time. But the real reality that is happening is that we have more channels now than we've ever had before. So this is much bigger than the world of just doing paid advertising in the world of Meta, or doing Google ads, right? Or trying to figure out how we can get more Google reviews or higher rating on Yelp, making sure that, we've got our Google business profiles set up. All of that stuff, that's kind of almost the traditional way to do marketing now, but it's really also moved over into influencer marketing, right? So again, like I said, having like a product spokesperson or being able to utilize someone to really talk about your brand. You see that all over Instagram and TikTok, for example. You're seeing that direct advertising is still being upset or disrupted and maybe enhanced, because what people are doing now is they're taking their data that they have and they're adding to it all sorts of additional information that AI can pull together, so you can actually get laser focused on who you're actually trying to target. So instead of kind of doing the guesswork and saying, I think this is who I'm going after, with AI, you can really, really get more precise, right? So we're looking at, again, being able to, take our spend and see higher return on ad spend there. So higher ROAS. Okay, so I say it again, there's so many channels in which to advertise. Now you're talking about if you're in the world of ChatGPT, let's say, or in the world of Gemini, and you've got explore other GPTs, or you've got gems that you're looking at, people are now, and companies are now branding their own GPTs and getting in front of you as yet another way to advertise their product, right? If I'm in different apps, if I'm watching streaming video or stream on Netflix, right? I don't have cable anymore. I'm only using YouTube TV. All that stuff that's in-app streaming, right? Being able to use Spotify and having ads within there. I could go on and on and on. There's so much more ways now that people are really sequestering themselves from the greater public, if you will, and picking and choosing all of these little avenues from where to put their attention. It really requires incredible gamesmanship. I mean, deep knowledge of your own customer and prospective customer base to know where to actually advertise and how to get in front of the people that you're trying to get in front of. And now, having said that, if you're in some ways, it's frustrating because there's even more ways to do this. In other ways, there's so many other kind of discrete ways you can spend maybe less money, but like a more consolidated, let's say it's a stronger marketing pitch because it's directly to those people. But you do have to spend the time and really think about, and then you probably need to work with someone who really knows how to get to all of those channels so you can advertise. But as Tom Hegna, who's a big legend in the insurance and financial advisory space, he says riches and niches. So I think that's his. I didn't want to just take his phrase, but love that guy. And he's always talking about how if you understand those niche markets, right, that's where you're really going to get the biggest ROI. So if we can get into those correct pockets, which means we need to really understand our customer data very well, that'll be a different webinar at a later time. But if we can do that, we should be able to therefore create that marketing that mimics who is already a current customer and see if we can get more like them, right? We all know every small business owner can, off the top of the head, tell you your top 5 to 10 best clients. And you can say, if I only had 10 more like Stacy or whatever, you would be like, we'd be golden, right? We can all do that. So this is about how you can actually do that from an analytical standpoint, and AI has a huge piece of that. But having said that, what's also happening is that you have all this stuff happening out in the world, but the big stuff with Google Ads and Meta and all these things, and you're now marketing to the entire world with your product, and maybe that's not applicable. So you need to kind of be able to get that a little bit smaller. And what you see rising up is hyper localized public relations and marketing, which is kind of interesting. So in many ways, at the same token, small business owners, especially those that actually have a brick and mortar, let's say, and an online presence, that we're really looking at how do we get people to still to continue to come into the store or come in to visit you at your firm or practice, right, at the same time as casting a wide net. So you're seeing a lot of people now a lot of business owners trying to figure out how they can do both at the same time. We still want to be known in the community, right? That becomes very important, that we're known in our actual community and we're part of it. That's part of our authentic brand. But we know that we also we can actually get more clients and customers out there in the greater world. So how do we kind of balance those two, and what are the tools that we can do now? So having said that, I want to expand on this idea of influencer marketing being digital word of mouth, right? And just to give you a sense, in 2025, the influencer marketing industry, meaning those people practicing influencer marketing and paying into the influencer marketing industry, $33 billion just this year, right? So it's becoming a huge growing kind of big segment where people are now saying, maybe we should put our money into this. And again, influencers could be paid influencers. Think of it like a spokesperson, and they could be famous and, huge ticket items, which most small business can't afford to, get Taylor Swift to endorse your product, etc. But you can actually also do that in a much more localized way as well. And it might be, for them using your service. It could be they want to use your platform to gain their own fame and notoriety, right? It could be that you're just going to create something and you're just going to find a way to use that, but use the tools that are now available to you as a creator to get your brand out there. So all this influencer marketing, right? It offers cost of effectiveness. It can drive sales. It builds relationships, right? But you can use your platform. If you haven't thought of your business and your business channels out on social media, and today we're talking about LinkedIn as a platform, I'm here to convince you should, right? Because you've invested in it. You've invested in your brand, your logo, the products and services you sell. Now you go to that next piece where you yourself could be the influencer or someone else, but you yourself are the platform. Your business gives you a platform as a way to be able to conduct public relations and all of your marketing communications. So for small business owners, I contend that you have a huge advantage because you know your products inside and out. You know those better than anyone. So if a marketing agency came to you, you can rattle off a million things about your products and services. You also, like I said before, you know who your best clients are. You know where the data is. You know why people buy from you. You know why they like you. You know why you're differentiated from the competitors that you have in the market, et cetera. And you have the flexibility because you own the company to be able to create rewards and recognition and strike deals, et cetera. And the biggest thing is you understand reputation management. You understand what you want your reputation to be within, let's say, your community, within all the organizations in which you participate in, let's say, out there on the web. Maybe you haven't thought to that extent about it, but you understand it when you talk about you personally as the business owner, and then you actually running your company. You get that. It's just how can we best translate it out there into the digital space so that we can really be able, again, to translate that out so people are like, I want to work with this person, right? I want to buy from this company. So in the world, if we now take influencer marketing and LinkedIn, you yourself and your potential influencers, you need to start thinking in terms of building these networks, or also called centers of influence, if you know that term, COIs. So having said that, LinkedIn is an opportune place to do this because you can tap into who you know and who they know. And think about it, all of you understand supply chain. You understand the supply chain piece very, very well, whether that's service or product side. But think about how can you use LinkedIn now to build this digital influence distribution path. You're building more distribution, but you're doing it now through LinkedIn, if that makes sense. And it's through that word of mouth, that digital, how can I put together a series of people that can pass through information about my product or service, right? And so how big could we go? So how do we do that and set ourselves up for success? So this is where I said, I think picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's just look at great examples and then ask yourself, is this what you have? So you can go home and say, is this what I'm doing for myself? Okay, so at Web to Market, we work with a lot of publishers, and therefore we are also working with a lot of authors. And authors have a couple things that they're trying to do. They want to sell their books. They want to get speaking engagements, right? They oftentimes have their own consulting practice, et cetera. And so you've got this two-pronged piece where you've got the publishers and the authors, et cetera. In this case, we work with an author named Carol Golden. And so Carol Golden, this is her LinkedIn profile. And I just want to point out a couple of things that she's done incredibly well. First and foremost, if you look at the URL for how you get to Carol Golden, you want to have a LinkedIn URL that looks like this. You can customize this and make it what you want. Very, very few people actually do it and know that you can do that. Typically, you see linkedin.com/in/. That's what the basis of all LinkedIn, profile URLs. And then you get some gobbledygook like XYZ, TPP, I34, and it goes on and on. That's what the typical default URL would be. That's what you don't want. What you do want is to take the time to go into your profile, and it's over on the right-hand side, and say you want to update and customize your URL. And you want to put in whatever, the name of your business, your name, etc. So this is her personal profile author page, if you will. And Carol has nicely put in her Carol Golden. Now, when she's out there and she's telling people and she's linking it and they're saying, hey, how do I find you? And she says, find me on LinkedIn, right? Because she wants their contact on LinkedIn. So she's going to say that even before driving to her website from that standpoint, she wants to connect and look at their distribution. And she's going to easily be able to say, just go to linkedin.com, your typical thing, /Carol Golden, and you'll find me. The other things Carol's done, this area up here is called the banner area. And in the banner area, see her profile picture, and then the piece behind that in the navy blue, Carol's done a couple of nice things. She took the time to customize her banner area. Many people still don't do that piece either. It's just like this default kind of background image thing. And so again, it's nothing wrong with that, but why? It's free advertising, so use it as your billboard. So Carol has made a graphic, and in her graphic, she's given another picture of herself from a different angle. She has given bullet points as to how she can help you, and she's given a personal touch of giving her signature because she's an author, right? So people like to get her books, and she'll sign the book and send it and the whole thing. So she's done a very nice job with that too. Next piece, under her name, you notice that she's taken that time to really give a description in what she actually does. So she's got empowering advisors to grow multi-generational practices with healthcare plus wealthcare integration. That's already piqued my interest. Secondly, she said she's a speaker, coach, and author. Okay, so she's taken the time to really get that, to use every bit of those characters in there to explain what she does. And then the next thing she's done is she's actually put in a button for visit my website. I can't tell you how many small business owners do not take advantage of having a visit my website or a visit my store or shop my products or look at my services that I offer. And it's right there. It's just configuring your LinkedIn profile. So don't miss an opportunity to push what you sell, right? You built a beautiful business. Let's tell the world. So like 4 quick things there that likelihood you're probably not doing. Okay, other great examples. Scrolling down on Carol's profile. I totally invite you to visit her profile and look at that. She's an expert in long-term care, by the way, and caregiving. It's going to be a big problem. It's a big problem now in the United States, but most of us will find ourselves in that situation. She's got great books on doing that. Okay, so LinkedIn examples. Carol also has done a nice job in getting her skills. You notice she's got the little diamond for top skills, and then she's going to be able to elaborate and taking the time to put that. Next is services. Just like visit my website, you can fill out a whole section on your services and request them. So you can get leads right from LinkedIn. It costs me nothing, right? And yet I'm able to put that out there, and I can do the same thing for products. So I can be able to put that out there and start to actually generate leads for myself without having to do too much. And Carol's also had in her featured section here, she's showcasing her books, right? So she's built out kind of her featured area to showcase her books. And then when you know it, the link goes right there and you can buy it direct from her publisher and be able to be on your way. So in Carol's top skills, if we had expanded that little section out, she's taken the time to put in her, and not only put in her, taken the time, but organize her skills between these 3 things that she's doing: business development, communication, keynote speakers. And in there, if you notice, she has endorsements. And so that's one of the keys we were talking about, actively soliciting endorsements or recommendations, and also you giving them yourselves. Now, that part that I said on the services part, if I clicked on that, Carol actually has a piece to say the request for proposal and has a drop down of the services that she provides. And again, that's pure play lead generation. That's for herself because she herself is the company, right? And you can do that for your business, for yourself, et cetera, however you want to situate that. But again, why not use that option? And then as you go through Carol's profile, she also makes sure that she's active on LinkedIn. There's nothing worse, and there's so many profiles up there of like the person who doesn't have a headshot, you look super sketchy, right? They've half filled out their profile and they never post at all. So again, that doesn't say a lot to a future potential partner, right? Or to an investor or somebody that might want to buy your business. As a matter of fact, true story, I was sitting at a board meeting this past week and we were discussing who was going to get this big annual award. And they came down to, they had 2 candidates. They said both of them are great. And no kidding, they went back to say, who has the most social media presence and has the most influence out there? Because when we give that award, if they don't have anybody to promote that to, how does that help our organization, right? So something to think about, even in their kind of civic social life, that actually came up to say that became actually the tiebreaker as to who was going to have the most influence that is out there connected in the world. So you can see here for Carol, she's got her all of her stuff. You can see she's pretty active. She's posting at least once a week. So 22 hours ago, a week ago, etc. And she's got people now interacting. She's got comments and she's got people liking or giving impressions, etc. Okay, so that's one of those things where I know everybody's like, I don't have time. I know, it's just a discipline, right? You check your emails every day, right? You probably check your voicemails every day. You take 5 minutes a day and you check LinkedIn too. And you give a couple, you take a couple, that kind of idea. You just fit it into the discipline of the pattern, or you get someone to do it for you and ghostwrite for you. And many people do that as well. Okay, so a couple other comments on LinkedIn for Carol and her recommendations. You see that she's both received 32 recommendations or kind of endorsements of Carol, but she's also given. And those things you want to do in tandem, right? It's the more blessed to give than to receive. That's how it works on LinkedIn. So we want to make sure that we're also giving. It costs you nothing to give away endorsements, and you're a business owner. So that means a lot. Think about all the generations maybe that are coming behind you, right? And they need internships and they need endorsements and they need to put something on their beginning LinkedIn profiles, etc. So do this for your employees, do it for partners, do it for potential, again, people in your community. This is just another great way to advertise and market and be authentic to your brand if that's part of who you are, right? So if you're invested in the community, invest in the community. And so this is just a great way to show that. Now, before we leave, I want to make sure I'm not remiss in telling you, I'm telling you everything there is to know right there about your individual personal profile. And you might treat that as a business as well. But there is something called the LinkedIn company page. So I can be, she can be Carol Golden and have her own Carol Golden author. And she could have created a company page or a product page for each of the books, right? Or each of the businesses she has. Totally makes sense. All free to do in LinkedIn. So I wanted to show you just a couple examples, because this is, if you are on LinkedIn, if you've halfway used it, I almost guarantee you as a small business owner, you have not taken advantage of the company page. If you have, call me up, prove me wrong. I love it. And let's use you as an example, because this is such a good one that small businesses forget to do. And again, so small businesses right here, the company page, and I'm talking like small business, like you're under $15 million, $20 million, right? We're still in the small business, medium business category. So the company page, once you're in your profile, you can create a company. Here's my company page for Web to Market. You can see it has a lot of the same types of constructs. I can put in my logo. I can put in that banner image, right? I can say who we are. And then in there, I can do my whole about section. And look at that. I can post services and posts, and I can advertise jobs, and I can see who's connected to us, etc. So a couple of things to note that you can do in your company page that's a little bit different from your personal page. In my overview here, you can see that I've added a whole section for services. And again, people out there can request services directly from LinkedIn to me. Now, I have to not forget about my LinkedIn page. I have to be active. I should probably get an email telling me someone requested service, but I can do that for products and I can do it for services. I can set up what are called showcase pages. Let's say I have a specific product that's like a top seller, or I want to do a sale on it, or I really want to showcase this, or I'm doing both hardware sales and I'm doing, client consulting. I can put up product pages, showcase pages, and service pages, and all of those can help me to sell my product. You can see I can put in pricing. I could have put the pricing right there. And if I put a link to say, visit my store, basically I have another storefront that I'm selling online through LinkedIn. At least I can get the people over to my storefront where I can actually conduct the actual commercial transaction. But let's put this out. This is like another billboard out on the highway. Why would you not have that? All right, so the next piece over there, I'm just showing you on the right-hand side that on our profile, as well as I can also do thought leadership. I can put in articles, I can write articles, I can put in images, I could put in videos of my products or my services, I can upload manuals, documents, whatever is going to help me, catalogs. If people are going to shop and I have a catalog of a mailer, put those things in there and let people have those and explore. It also helps you with your search engine marketing, etc. So go ahead and take advantage of these things that LinkedIn is already providing to you as a small business owner in order for you to market your product and yourself and your product. All right. And lastly, probably my top favorite thing about the company page in LinkedIn is that you get the analytics. And as I said before, you notice I'm pointing out the big arrow to say leads. So if people are using these tools, and I could have set up an event in here, I could set up a form and say, I want to collect leads, and it's going to be right there for me. And I can actually see how my work that I'm doing in here, how is it translating? I don't have to go through anybody. It's not like some secret marketing technology thing. It's right there, and it's telling me who's coming to my content. Do I have visitors? How the newsletters are coming out, right? My competitors, followers, I can export it all. It's a thing of beauty for the small business owner. These are all things I can understand very easily, right? And I can utilize all these awesome functionality that's in LinkedIn here for me that I'm probably not taking advantage of. So if you want to think about those things, that would be great. So take home messages and maybe some homework if you're so inclined. One, use that profile to the fullest. We talked about many points where you might not be utilizing it to the fullest. Give and receive, right? Best way to do it. Don't forget to ask partners to do this. Nothing's better than saying they're a great partner. We love working with them. They're trustworthy, right? Down to earth people, whatever. Associate yourself with influencers, right? Make sure you're looking to say, hey, in my customer base or client base, wow, who knew that Greg had 14,000 followers? We're tight. Maybe he could talk about how he's used our product at some point. That would be great. And then again, company pages are free advertising and lead gen. So take the time to do that. And one last little expert tip that seems so obvious, but when you put information, let's say you're going to put up a sale or you're going to put up something that new thought leadership about your product or service on your company page, make sure you go out to your personal page and go ahead and link that and pull it through, and vice versa. That allows you, again, to get all the people that are following the company page and all the people that are following you, right? And then maybe you can add in your employees or partners, et cetera. And again, you're building out that digital distribution network so you can get the word out there and really promote your brand and hopefully drive more traffic to you and drive more sales to you. With that, thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next time. We have a new webinar coming out in July. And also in August. So we're going to look into AI-driven search. It's one of the banes of most people's existence, especially e-commerce store owners, or if you have a lot of content, big content sites. How do you get people to the right where they need to get to quickly? And it's all brand new with AI now. And how well, again, do you know those customers? So with no further ado, I'd love for you to connect with us. You can certainly connect with me. I'm at /Suzanne Carowin on LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to our blog. And we'd love to see you soon and have a great day. Take care.